Welcome, focused learners. Gearing up for NEET 2026? Well, consider this explainer your ultimate cheat code for Chapter 1, Physics, Measurement, and Dimensions. We aren't just doing a boring review of concepts today. We're literally going to look at exactly how to hack the test and build a rock-solid foundation.
Here is the game plan for today. 1. Units and analogies. 2. The precision trap. 3. Dimensional tricks. And 4. Application sprints. We're covering exactly what's on the syllabus, hitting the most heavily tested areas, and blasting through 10 past-year-style multiple-choice questions along the way.
Let's just jump straight into Section 1, Units and Analogies. Historically, when we look at past NEET exams, dimensional analysis makes up a massive 40% of the questions from this chapter. Errors take up 30%, significant figures 20%, and the system of units is just 10%. But, don't let that small 10% fool you. Those base units, they are absolutely the foundation you need to conquer that huge 40% chunk. To keep things super simple, think of your fundamental units exactly like primary colors. Red, blue, yellow. They just exist independently. Derived units, on the other hand, are like paintings mixed from those primary colors. You absolutely cannot have the painting without having the primary colors first. It's the perfect way to separate the 7 base SI units, like kilograms and meters, from literally everything else built out of them. So let's immediately test that out with MCQ1. Which of the following is not a fundamental SI unit? Ampere, candela, Newton, or Kelvin? Well, using our analogy, ampere, candela, and Kelvin are all primary colors. But a Newton? That's a measure of force, kilogram meter per second squared. It's a mixture, it's a painting. So obviously the answer is C, Newton. Moving right to MCQ2. How do you convert 1 Newton into the CGS unit, dynes, using dimensional analysis? We know the dimensional formula for force is mLT to the minus 2. By comparing SI units to CGS units, basically comparing kilograms to grams and meters to centimeters, you'll calculate that a single Newton neatly explodes into 10 to the power of 5 dynes. Okay, shifting gears now to Section 2, the precision trap. This is exactly where examiners love to catch you off guard. It all starts with the least count. By definition, this is the smallest value your instrument can possibly measure. Think of a standard ruler. If it only has millimeter marks, you simply cannot confidently measure half a millimeter, right? This absolute limit is the birthplace of all measurement errors. Let's see this in the wild with MCQ3. The least count of a stopwatch is 0.2 seconds. The time of 20 oscillations is measured as 25 seconds. What is the percentage error? This is a classic textbook NEET problem that directly relies on the least count concept. Actually, don't overthink it. Just follow the structure. Step 1, your absolute error is simply your instrument's least count. So here, that's 0.2 seconds. Step 2, your measured value is 25 seconds. Step 3, just calculate the percentage. Take 0.2, divide it by 25, and multiply by 100. Boom, 0.8%. Structured thinking beats panic every single time. All right, here's a notoriously tricky one, MCQ4. How many significant figures are in the measurement 0.007040? Is it 3, 4, 6, or 7? Examiners absolutely love this exact number format because it tests practically every rule at once. Can you spot the trap? 0 is, without a doubt, the peskiest number in physics. But here's your cheat sheet. 1. Leading zeros never count. They're just placeholders. 2. Non-zero digits always count. 3. Trailing zeros only count if there's a decimal somewhere in the number. So applying this to 0.007040, we ignore those first 3 leading zeros, we count the 7, the trapped 0, the 4, and, because there's a decimal present, we count that final trailing 0. 4 significant figures. The answer is B. Up next, MCQ 5. If a physical quantity is given by z equals a squared times b to the power of 1/3, all divided by c, what's the formula for the maximum percentage error in z? This algebraic error format is highly repeated. Looks like a total calculus nightmare, doesn't it? Well, it really isn't. Here is the high-speed memory hack. Just bring the power down and add them all up. Because we're looking for the maximum error. We literally never subtract, not even if a term is sitting in the denominator. So the percentage error in z is just 2 times the error in a, plus 1/3 the error in b, plus the error in c. We just turned a scary algebraic mess into simple addition. And that mindset perfectly builds into Section 3, Dimensional Tricks. Okay, listen up, because instead of memorizing 100 different dimensional formulas, you just need to group them. Group 1, work, energy, and torque all share ml squared t to the minus 2. Group 2, momentum and impulse are exactly mlt to the minus 1. Group 3, pressure and stress are ml to the minus 1 t to the minus 2. Trust me, this simple grouping trick is going to save you so much memorization time. Let's prove how powerful that is right now. MCQ 6. Which pair of quantities has the same dimensional formula? Force and work, momentum and impulse, or power and energy? If you use those groupings, you don't even have to do the math. You instantly know it's B, momentum and impulse. But what about when you actually have to calculate a complex one? MCQ 7. What is the dimensional formula for the universal gravitational constant, big G? This is a huge staple of the exam. Just start with a formula you already know. Newton's law of gravitation. Force equals G times m1 times m2 over r squared. Rearrange it for G, plug in the dimensions for force, distance, and mass, and you'll quickly derive m to the minus 1, L cubed, t to the minus 2.
Awesome. Let's head into our final stretch. Section 4, Application Sprints.
MCQ 8 asks us to check the dimensional consistency of the equation v squared equals u squared plus 2as. We use the principle of homogeneity here, meaning every single term being added or equated has got to match perfectly. V squared is L squared t to the minus 2. U squared gives the exact same thing. And 2as, acceleration times displacement, also yields L squared t to the minus 2. Everything matches, so it's dimensionally consistent. Okay. MCQ 9, the dreaded new fundamental units problem. If force, velocity, and time are taken as fundamental units, what is the dimension of mass? People get so stuck here trying to write out and solve giant complicated matrices. Skip the matrices. Here's the hack. Step 1. Write the absolute simplest physics formula you know that connects these. Force equals mass times acceleration. Step 2, we need velocity and time in there, so just substitute acceleration with velocity divided by time. Step 3, rearrange the algebra for mass. Mass equals force times time divided by velocity. Bring velocity to the top, and you get F times V to the minus 1 times T. Easy. For our final sprint, MCQ 10, what are the dimensions of Planck's constant, h? And which quantity does it share dimensions with? This is the ultimate classic NEET question, bridging dimensional analysis with atomic physics. Using energy equals h times frequency, we find h is ml squared t to the minus 1. And the shared quantity? Angular momentum. Another fantastic pairing for your memory banks. 45 seconds, that is the exact number of seconds you are going to save per question on exam day if you master these exact tricks. And honestly, if dimensional analysis can unlock this much of Chapter 1, just imagine what the right memory hacks can do for kinematics or thermodynamics. Are you ready to find out? Keep practicing, analyze those mock trusts, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.